But how would you respond to many of your peers and some of the people in our Reformed community who call Dr. Brown a wolf?
Well, a couple of things. I thought you were going to talk about NAR and all the rest of that stuff, which I'll just be honest with you, is out of my wheelhouse. It's not an area that I delve into. I don't know all the names.
Mm-hmm.
There were people who were brought up in the dialogue with Justin Peters that I'd never even heard of in my life, to be honest with you. So that kind of stuff, I'm just sort of like, I've got to leave that to others because it's outside of that. Look, I've had Michael on this program. Mike, do you remember? It was on the dividing line. I think I had heard you say something, and I invited you on the program. We ended up having a conversation about oneness theology and whether you could fit oneness teaching into an orthodox framework. And I had, my argument to you was, given that they do not believe that the Son eternally existed as a divine person, that the Son came into existence at his birth in Bethlehem, and he's not a divine person, that this is, it goes into that area of heresy that causes, separation. And my recollection was, you were like, that's not an area I've studied a whole lot, and you studied a whole lot more than I have, and I'm really going to have to think that through. And you accepted that as a positive input from me and my background in history, just as I've learned so much from you on all the messianic issues and everything that comes from that side. That was an example, I thought, where clearly there was not a ego issue going on between us, and you're willing to go, that's an area that James has studied more than I have, and so I'm going to need to really look at that. And do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, and the context was, I get asked, on the radio show about this, and I said, well, there's certainly people that would be oneness that are clearly not saved for XYZ reasons, but 1 John 2 does say, whoever has the Son has the Father. And I have spoken to people that, from all that they said, they seem to be Bible believing and holding to the fundamentals. And because they did have the Son, then I would say they have the Father also. And then your subsequent comment was, but do they really have the Son, as you just articulated? And then subsequently, when that question came up, I said, here's how I've answered it. Here's how Dr. White would answer it. Again, recognizing that you had studied it more carefully, that you would have, more caveats there. Right. But anyway, so back to the wolf thing.
Yeah. So the wolf thing. So here's my response. It comes on two levels. We have discussed justification by faith. We have discussed, Michael's view of Scripture, his defense of the sufficiency of Scripture and the inerrancy of Scripture, of Jesus's resurrection, his messiahship, the doctrine of the Trinity, all the things that are definitional to the faith, puts most people to shame, and most of his critics to shame. And certainly when it comes to his major work, that the two areas that he's just done so much, obviously the answers to Jewish objections to Jesus is, monumental work. And then all that he's been willing to do in regards to homosexuality and gay marriage and everything else that's been taking place since then, his critics don't even come close to anything along those lines. And they would say, fine, okay, he's right in all those areas, but there's this, and this. And the areas where they would point to are areas that I've expressed my disagreement with Mike about. We've talked about it. And so it's not something that's hidden under the rug. And very clearly, I don't see that in any way, shape, or form as getting rid of his orthodox profession of who God is, what Christ has done, what salvation is. Even the stuff that we debate in regards to Reformed theology and things like that. I have said many times, God bless Michael's blessed inconsistencies on that subject. But let me also be personal. Mike and I have prayed together, and we've prayed together before. We were in Malaga, and we prayed together before doing the Revelation TV stuff and things like that. And most of the people who make that kind of accusation don't know him. They've never eaten with him. They've never defended the faith with him. And if Michael Brown is a wolf, then I don't know how to recognize one.